Content over everything.
Buckingham Palace, no!
Can't stop Rasta from hailing the king, you know.
Yeah, judgment! Can't stop them. And yeah, they need discipline, how you mean? Teach them discipline.
I go on, young lion.
No, ease up, Mr. We're not ease up. Shake it. Ah, no! Burning fire for 4 branches, no! We're not living in generation, judgment, no! Yeah, according to the work he has done. Oh, you know he's up. Fire!
The only way that we can do what we do is you give us the permission to do it. We are your servants. You don't serve us, we serve you. We are going to have a banner at the front of the march. We expect everybody to honor it and stay behind the banner. We don't need anybody running in front of the banner doing their own thing.
Here we are do now. We move as one family, see? Yes. Yeah, the drummers them is gonna give you the energy for move. But drummers, I just appreciate love when I do. And we just ask, you know, yeah. When we just say low, play it look but just low so we can do things, yeah? Yeah. Whatever you call it. Anything you want to call it.
Down the arc. Roll out. Forward.
Make a whole discipline. Make a whole discipline. Make a whole discipline. Don't walk too fast, Esther. The long walk. Behind the banner. Walk and follow the banner.
CEO, bless up every time, content over everything. Bad man, every time. Reparations, make sure you reach. We'll be back.
We are the line of Judah, come here. We are the line of Judah.
And like Captain Rambo. Daddy, come on, bag of water. Water for everybody. Come on.
Stop up there. Yeah? Stop up there.
Stand over
Fire! Everyone's singing fire! Fire upon them! Red hot lava!
tribute to our ancestors for 3 minutes. Brothers and sisters, could we have silence, please?
Everybody still stay behind the banner, behind the banner, behind the banner. Follow the order, follow the order. We're going to the same place, isn't it? This is the annual African Emancipation Day Reparations March. This is the annual African Emancipation Day Reparations March. We charge the British government for genocide and ecocide. We seek reparations and venerations for our ancestors who were stolen from Africa from the 15th century up until the 19th century. Worked for 400 years for nothing, for build up Britain. All right. What we need you to do is to give us your undivided attention, because we got an elder that's going to come and address us. An elder that was invited by the Prime Minister to come to the fake celebration for Windrush. And this elder refused them. So this elder refused their invitation. He was an Africated African who did not accept the invitation of the British state with their fast, like many of them did. So when I call this elder, I want you to rise him up. Because this elder is showing us how to deal with these people. Without further ado, please hail and big up Elder Ghost John!
Silverback. He's a silverback.
Yeah. You want to try that one, yeah?
No, it's alright, it's alright.
You alright?
Yeah.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Brothers and sisters, I greet you in the name of Africa, and I greet the African spirit that dwells within each and every one of us. Ashe. I want us to never underestimate the importance of what we've just done and what we will continue to do until we go home this evening.
What you do, talk in that one, and I'll take this one and put it to your mouth as well, yeah? Go on.
We've just had this fast called the Windrush celebrations in the last few weeks. And many people have colluded with the British state, even as they have been killing our loved ones. We can only allow people to do things to us if we forget our responsibilities to one another.
Yes.
Reparations is not about money.
All right.
Reparations is not about giving this, that, and the other to this government or that in the Caribbean or in Africa.
That's right.
Reparations have got to start with us, and it's got to start with our anger at what these people did to our ancestors. And we need to demonstrate that we are doing the repair and healing amongst ourselves.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let us be very clear about that. David Cameron in 2015 went to Jamaica and told the people that he was going to build them a prison. Cameron was acting in his self-interest and that of the British state. They wanted to build a prison so that he could export, repatriate all of those prisoners who are too populous in the jails of this country. But then, why did he do that? Why didn't he acknowledge that many of the Windrush generation go back to various parts of the Caribbean? They build houses in the hope that sun, sea, and air could keep them alive for longer. But before they could even rest their heads in some of those houses, they've got to come back to this country or for health reasons. Cameron did not say all of those people who gave most of their lives to building Britain have a right to a decent retirement in the Caribbean. And therefore we will repair the infrastructure of the health service which we left in a state when we gave people their independence. He did not say that. Rather than that, he says, we will build you prisons. And he talks about the Windrush generation and the hostile environment as if the hostile environment started yesterday. The hostile environment has been there since 1962. Let us not forget it. Every single piece of immigration legislation was more brutal and draconian than the rest, more racist than the one that went before. And some of us believe that because there are people like me and you in that place over there, we've made it. They talk about progress because we have David Lammy and Diane Abbott and this one and that one and the next one. But frankly, my position is this. Any Tom, Dick and Harry, Mary Jane or Sue could aspire to be an MP. There's no reason why they shouldn't aspire to be an MP as well. But don't get twisted up. The fact that they are there in that place does not mean that our position is any better than it was before they went there. Let us understand that. And let us understand, therefore, that our responsibility is to hold this government's foot to the fire at all times.
That's right.
And in every situation. And do the repair amongst ourselves. our community needs a lot of healing. We impose oppression upon one another.
That's right.
Our men and our women, we on our children upon one another.
No discipline.
And the fact of the matter is this.
No discipline.
If Black lives matter, they matter not only when they're taken by white people, but by we ourselves.
That's right.
And all of those young men who are killing one another, they are not foxes. They don't live in holes. They live in somebody's house. They go to bed with somebody. Somebody feeds them. Yeah? And then if we abide by this don't snitch policy, and we allow more and more of our people to be killed because we let these murderers dwell among us, then we ourselves are responsible for our own oppression.
That's right. Yeah.
So at the same time that we're holding that foot to the fire, let's take some responsibility for ourselves. And let it begin with love within our hearts, so that we can show love to one another. We could be concerned about what happens when our children get arrested, when somebody else's children get arrested. We could be concerned about the fact that some children get excluded, and some of us encourage head teachers to exclude them because we believe that they're hindering the learning of our own children. The more we divide ourselves along those lines and don't take responsibility for one another, is the more these wretched people are going to take liberties with us. So we have to understand that. And we have to understand that we're not talking about money. We are asking that the debts that these countries have suffered over the years, with structural adjustment from the IMF, the World Bank, the International Inter-American Development Bank, all of that should be wiped out. Wipe it all out and build the infrastructure of those countries. You shouldn't risk dying because you step on a nail.
All right then. To the amplifier now.
And therefore, wow.
Come in, selector. DJ.
And therefore, my friend, can you kill the reverb on this thing? All right. And therefore, what we say is this. The United Nations declared 2015 to 2024 the International Decade of People of African Descent. This country, this parliament decided that they will not do anything
Move the sign out the way.
according to what the United Nations argued. Okay, can you hear me?
Hold on. Don't hook it to that. Turn it, yeah.
So we have to make sure that we make this government do some stuff. Do something about what is happening to our children and the number of them who are being put in jail. Do something about the number of them being excluded from school and sent to these pupil referral units, which are just the waiting room of the prisons.
I agree.
Do something about that. Do something about the fact that too many of us believe that we are safe, and it's only people who are undocumented that are affected by immigration laws. That is not the case. And above all, we need to do something about the fact that these people divided us from our African brothers and sisters. So we talk about Windrush, and we talk about people coming from the Caribbean without understanding that long before they came, Africans and Caribbean people were struggling together in this country for over a century. 1900, the first Pan-African Congress, organized by Henry Sylvester Williams, a Trinidadian barrister, 1900, with the support of loads of African people. So let's not continue those divisions amongst ourselves. We are one Pan-African people, one African nation. And we've got to understand that. And we've got to campaign so that the African Union and all of those African states make it possible for those of us who were not born on the continent to have free reign to go wherever we like in Africa. So that is what we have to fight for in reparations. And don't believe for one moment that our struggle is only with the British government. Our struggle is to fix some stuff amongst ourselves.
All right. Our next international speaker come all the way from the island of Jamaica. And he's also part of Jamaican National Council of Reparations. He is the son of one of the former Prime Ministers of Jamaica. Brother Stephen O'Neill!
Blessed love, brothers and sisters. Hotep, I greet you in the language of the ancient Egyptians, to remember that it was your ancestors who built the first civilizations, who created reading and writing. In fact, we did such a good job that the rest of the world needed us to build their civilization. I come here today with a message of solidarity and a message of unity. And I come here with a message to those who sit in that house, that we intend to settle accounts. Today is a public holiday in Jamaica. I don't know why it's not a public holiday in this country.
No, we are claiming the day.
It's a public holiday, and because of that, as children, sometimes we forget the significance of it. I'm not here to talk to you about emancipation, because emancipation is a fraud. I'm here to talk to you today about liberation, because our ancestors were about liberating themselves. They have always and have always been in control of their own destiny. The story of emancipation is the narrative of our enemies and those who oppressed our ancestors.
Yes, sir.
In fact, when we learn of emancipation in the history of Jamaica or in the history of the Caribbean, it is associated with names like Granville Sharp and William Wilberforce and other parliamentarians who found it politically to their benefit to be a part of what they call the abolitionist movement. That is not our history. Our history is a history of war, a history of struggle against the oppression that was brought against our ancestors who were trafficked across the transatlantic, across the Atlantic in the transatlantic slave trade. They tell you a story in the Caribbean that begins with your ancestors being slaves, not being the first people to build civilizations, not the people who constructed the pyramids, who built the Sphinx, who taught the world to appreciate arts and sciences, but the history of slaves. If you know your own history, you know that the word slave was not even associated with African people. In fact, it refers to the Slavic people of Eastern Europe, not your ancestors.
That's right.
But yet this is the story they give us. So we become comfortable with the fact that we are descended from quote-unquote slaves, and that our history began on the plantation, and that some nice white men in the House of Parliament in Britain felt sorry for us, and so we were given emancipation.
Come on, brother. Come on.
Don't believe the lies, brothers and sisters. Don't be hoodwinked, don't be bamboozled, don't be led astray. Your ancestors fought from the first days of the kidnappings and the rapes and the trafficking. We fought in Africa, if we remember, people like Queen Nzinga, King Benazir. We fought on the slave ships, if we remember, people like Sinke and Amistad and other ships that we took over.
That's right, that's right.
When we arrived in the ports in the west, we fought in the ports, if you remember, people like Benkos Bioho. And then we left the plantations and we fought in the hills. If you remember, people like Nana, like Kojo, like Kwao, like Akompo. If you remember, people like Gaspar Yanga. If you remember, people like King Zumbi in Brazil.
Come on.
This is our true story. Not a story of emancipation, but a story of liberation.
That's right.
We taught the world about human rights.
Right. Good teaching.
We taught the world that it was a crime to treat your brothers as property and your sisters as property. But the war is not over. And because we were fooled by an emancipation proclamation for generations, some of us might have forgotten that we were in a war. But I told you that we're here to settle accounts. As an African people, as the people who were the victims of the worst crime ever committed against any branch of the human family, we are now the last to be exacting the justice that is due unto us.
Come on.
They gave the Jews reparations for a 10-year Holocaust.
Come on.
That we sympathize with them about.
That's right.
But 10 years does not compare to 3 centuries. 10 years does not compare to over 300 years. In America, they gave the Japanese Americans reparations for incarcerating them during World War II.
That's right.
Just recently, under the Obama administration, they paid reparations to the natives of so-called America, the North American Indians, for mismanagement of their reservations that they were sentenced to for so many years while their land was stolen. Yet the crimes committed against these people pales in comparison to what your ancestors suffered through.
Come on.
Some of them chose death rather than to live through it. You and I are the descendants of the ones who found the courage to live on and to survive. And I ask you today, as we took 3 minutes to pause in recognition of our ancestors, I ask you to search your own feelings, search your own mind, search your own heart, and understand why it is your ancestors chose to survive through the horrors that were inflicted upon them. We are the reason. Because I know if someone took me from my family, from my children, from my wife, from my parents, not knowing where I was going and not knowing the horrors that I would face, the only thought that could keep me alive is that hope of returning, that hope of reuniting, that hope of seeing my family again.
Come on, brother.
And this is the reason we exist today. We have a duty to our ancestors to see this war through to the end. We have a duty to those who gave us life to fulfill those desires and hopes that they had. So today when I see young black children growing up, no matter where they are, as Peter Tosh said, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. We have to reclaim that identity. And in the reclamation of that identity comes our responsibility to fulfill the duty and the mission that our ancestors started. Reparations is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. It is a matter of how. But it requires us to consolidate, to organize, to centralize, to bring ourselves together. I see so many groups here from amongst the Pan-African community. I see so many groups that are coming together under this cause, and I salute that. This particular city has a significant history in that war that I speak of. Forget about Wilberforce. Forget about Granville Sharp. Remember people like Oluwade Equiano. Remember people like Ignacio Sancho, Kogoano Kotoba, the sons of Africa. It was they who brought the petition of freeing Africans to the halls of that building across the street there. It was they who brought the Zong to the attention of Granville and Sharp. It is they who made it a political issue, and because of that an Emancipation Proclamation came. So I want you, in knowing that history, to play your own role. It was in London that the first Pan-African Congress was held in 1900, remember? And as part of that conference, they went to Westminster and they went to Parliament, bringing the plight of Africans globally to their attention. So you have another duty now, and this is where I'm going to leave you. Reparations requires all our efforts, just as the war on slavery did. Just as we had soldiers in the mountains and in the fields and on the ships, we also had soldiers in the plantation houses, poisoning the master sometime. We had soldiers carrying information, as in the case of Macandal and Bookman and Louverture in Haiti.
And Dessalines.
We had to fight it on many fronts. And so when it comes to reparations in this country and getting their attention, I want you to remember that you have an election coming up. The Windrush situation is almost the perfect storm in a teacup, because it exposes the hypocrisy. It exposes the wickedness of their attitude towards African people. After rebuilding this country after World War II, they act like they want to forget, just as much as they want us to forget that our ancestors fought a war. Malcolm X says it's the bullet or the ballot. The next time the ballot comes up, I want you in this country to make reparations an issue. I saw the speeches in Parliament about the Windrush. I saw the Prime Minister rushing to save face. Just as we are serious and outraged about that issue, let us get serious and outraged about the issue of reparation. Let every political party who expects to court your vote know that if they not talk about settling the accounts, if they not talk about reparations, they're not going to get your vote. This is the city that groomed and trained the young Marcus Garvey before he founded the greatest Pan-African organization ever. And I have the honor to lead the division in Jamaica of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. As said earlier, I'm a member of the National Council on Reparation. That council came about because we made enough of a noise to get the Parliament's attention, and the government themselves created the council. It has reverberated across the Caribbean, and now you have a CARICOM Reparations Commission. And I want to take the time to honor this sister here, Sister Esther, wherever she might be right now, somewhere nearby, for the work that she and her team and others have been doing in this country. Because that is the place we're going to take the fight. And we're going to make them answer for the injustices carried out, not only by their own ancestors, but being carried out by them right now today, or we wouldn't have a Windrush saga going on. If their attitudes, well, you know what they say, children live what they learn. And so they have learned from their ancestors. I expect you to learn from yours.
Yep.
The bullet or the ballot, reparations in the house.
Thank you.
Hotep, one God, one aim, one destiny.
Greetings, brothers and sisters, family, friends, kings and queens, elders and spies. You are very welcome to the People's Open Parliamentary Session on African reparations. Now, in a moment, we will continue with our speakers, but first of all, we are going to have our POPSAR, our People's Open Parliamentary Session on African reparations. And this is a space where we hone our arguments. The iron sharpens iron in terms of the arguments we are building, not just with the state, but with us as a community, to increase the effectiveness of our self-repair. Today is not just about challenging Wazungu. We are here to demonstrate to ourselves that we mean business, and we are willing and able and ready to challenge establishment power. And this is why the topic that we are debating today is so important. The motion we are debating today is this: be it resolved that the Reparations March, as a form of reparation the justice street protest is being made inadequate due to inactivity by the majority of its participants in taking steps to advance the campaign for reparations between the annual marches, before the march, after the march, not Nagwan. This is what two teams are going to be debating today. And I'm going to introduce to you Brother Leo Mohammed, who is the moderator for the Popsar.
Greetings, family. Greetings, family. So everybody has got that, right? The motion is, be it resolved that the Reparations March, as a form of reparatory justice, street protest, is being made inadequate due to inactivity by the majority of its participants in taking steps to advance the campaign for reparations between the annual marches. In other words, as my sister said, before the march, people ain't doing too much. After the march, we're not doing anything. This is a problem. This needs to be more than one day, more than a one-day march. This means to be something that we are active in 365 days a year, if we're gonna make a change and make a difference. That's the motion, that's what's gonna be debated. Each speaker will have approximately 3 minutes to make their case. We're gonna have 3 speakers for and 3 speakers against the motion. And we want you to participate by making noise to show who you support or what you agree with or what you disagree with. Do we have a deal? Yes. And then at the end, brothers and sisters, we'll vote to see what the outcome of the debate, of the outcome of the decision, the discussion is. So without further ado, I want to introduce the first speaker on behalf of the motion, and that's our beloved sister who just addressed us, Sister Jendai. Please put your hands together and welcome our first speaker.
Greetings, I am Sister Jendai. I am co-chair of the African Emancipation Day Reparations March. I'm also a member of the Stop the Mangamizi We Charge Genocide Ecocide campaign team. And I am here to speak some uncomfortable truths that we need to face up to. And I am here and I contest that the march is being made inadequate. Inadequate because people are not reading what they could be doing, much less doing what they could be doing. The desire to learn in our community is low. The march has 5 aims. The Stop the Mangamizi campaign has 5 aims also. Who can name even 2? That is part of our problem, a preferred state of ignorance. People have short concentration spans. We have short staying power and still expect 1 day, a year, on its own to yield all the results they expect. That is a menticide, brothers and sisters. People have so many expectations of 10 core people working with other volunteers to organize a one-day event than they have expectations of themselves. The savior complex is part of our menticide. One of the many symptoms of the Mangamizi that we showed. Then, them same people there have so much to say all year round about what did not go right. on the stopthemoangamizi.com website and circulated. Who reads it? Who has acted on it? Show me your hands. We have held one hand. We have held public meetings and awareness workshops. We have circulated a list of 20+ suggestions and activities and tasks that people can do collectively and individually. Who's done any of them? Do you even know what they are? We use social media, but ego and stubbornness is plaguing some parts of our community. The majority of the Pan-African Afrocentric conscious community do not link with us to ensure their membership has reparations awareness activism on their agenda and on their education curricula. Bear sat the schools. Where are all the children?
Time.
I will continue.
Come on, brothers and sisters.
Come on, brothers and sisters, let's give our sister another hand. She had a lot more to say on the subject matter, but the speakers are given a maximum of 3 minutes, and we want to be strict with the time. So our next speaker, and this speaker now is speaking against what Sister just postulated, and so without further ado, could we please welcome to the platform Sister Toya.
Greetings everyone, I'm Sister Toya from the African Emancipation Day Reparations March Committee. Greetings. So as a young woman, it's my duty to ensure that the march remains visible and relevant. It significantly displays our support base from our people in the UK and beyond.
Your voice a bit more, just really projecting.
Oh, okay.
Into those, really
okay, it significantly displays our support base in the UK and beyond who identify with African reparations. Which other groups and processes do you know that are actively developing reparatory participatory strategies and tactics that incorporates all our different aspirations, interests and ideologies, and introducing all of our different ideas as the masses of our people. The march is the street column of the International Social Movement for African Reparations, and it's 100% controlled by us. The march has the websites, that's www.stopthemoangamizi.com and the reparationsmarch.org. We have our social media platforms, the aims, the petition. It's all there for you to read to prove that we are active all throughout the year. Despite our internal and external struggles, we have proved that we can mobilize, organize and build staying power despite what the naysayers, critics and saboteurs say. We also have built relationships with international reparations movements in the USA, Europe and the Caribbean, and also international relationships with other groups that might not use the name as reparations, but they do reparatory practices like the EFF and the Biafra and Free West Papua activists and the Over Herero and Nama communities. Our recognition and our influence is growing, although a lot of people may not think so. But throughout the year, the march brings together all aspects of our community, and it's our job to keep showcasing to the world that we unify under one banner and build an African power base, and that will ensure that we effect and secure reparations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, let's give it up one more time for our sister, Sister Toya. Sister saying that despite the previous argument that nothing is happening, nothing is being done. She's saying enough things are going on, more so behind the scenes, internationally and otherwise. It's just that we don't necessarily see everything that's going on. And of course, she, like the first speaker, Sister Jendai, is also encouraging all of us to get involved and do more, because more can be done, brothers and sisters. So our next speaker, joining Sister Jendai as a speaker for the motion, is
Komawishua Ndero.
Komawishua Ndero. Please put your hands together and welcome our next speaker for the motion.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Greetings. I support the motion on the following basis.
Shout into those mics, brother. Shout into it.
Shout into it.
Shout into it.
You can't hear me?
Shout into it, brother.
I support the motion on the following basis.
There you go, there you go.
The march to stop the Mahangamisi have got aims and is there for all to read and digest. And we realized that we are actually the demiurge of this campaign. And that we should also consciously reflect the facts on collaborators who aren't always interested in charging the genocide and ecocide campaigns. The complexes of frustration and aggressiveness, etc., may have proved too much for some of us because of a lack of self-knowledge and what is required to stay fighting. Education is preparation for reparation. The motion speaks to a lack of action from all participants in this march. We've been coming here for 5 years and have produced a lot of evidence in our continuing Mahangamisi in every aspect of our lives by the British state, the rest of Europe and the United States. What have we done with all that evidence? The first 20th century genocide by Germany happened between 1904 to 1908 on Overhero and emanations of Namibia. And our ancestors paid a hell of a cost. Now, as descendants of affected communities, we, the Overhero Genocide Foundation, the Nama Genocide Technical Committee, and the Association of the Overhero Genocide in the United States of America have taken Germany to court in the United States over the Holocaust. As we know, that's another aspect of attaining reparatory justice through legal means. Where is our lawsuits against these perpetrators? When do we drag them to court? How much have we conceded? And how much have we prepared to sacrifice? While our graves keep increasing, mental illness increases, our prisons being filled up with all African heritage communities. How much effort went into tackling Afrophobia from our own homes? For example, how much of you have you adopted African names? And how much have we taught our children about Umpuntology? In Southern Africa, we have very promising movements pushing for economic emancipation and land appropriation, as well as the return of ancestral land from colonizers' descendants. The economic freedom fighters in Tanzania and the landless peoples movement in Namibia are pursuing the kind of revolution we all want and need. The lack of a coherent system of information sharing is evidence that we are not doing enough to foster stronger relationships to ensure re-establishing African sovereignty, land, wealth, resources, cultures, etc. We have to link up daily with progressive movements and support them and join their fight, because a liberated Africa with proper leaders, especially from youth-driven movements, is beneficial to our efforts here. Our time.
Come on, brothers and sisters, one more time, give our brother a round of applause. Again, brother is saying that things have been done, they've taken governments to court, but yet more can and should be done. Brothers and sisters, our next speaker against the motion is Brother Callum from Ubuntu. Please put your hands together for Brother Callum from Ubuntu. Is Brother Callum here? Okay, can we have Brother Kwame Osai to the platform, please? Brother Kwame Osai to the platform. And also Brother Callum from Ubuntu. These things have been arranged in advance, brothers and sisters, so these brothers know that they should be here, because this is an open parliament discussion format where they need to be here ready to make their presentations. Okay, so we have Brother Kwame Osai who's going to go first, and we hope that Brother Callum from Ubuntu will shortly show himself. Please put your hands together for our Brother Kwame. Really
okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right.
Police.
All right, brothers and sisters. How you feeling? I can't hear you. How you feeling? All right. So I'm talking for the motion, and I don't believe that it's a failure, because if you see how many of us are here today, it's testament to the fact that, you know, this thing is going to grow. And like, I'm proud to see that there's many young people here, many children, many young people under 25 here. So it says to me that something is happening, particularly with our young people. And, you know, the message is going across. You know, I'm from Nottingham. I've come all the way from Nottingham with some brothers on the back. And we are doing a lot of outreach work in Nottingham. You know, we have a radio show that we do in Nottingham every Saturday, where we actually inform and educate the people about these things. So before the march, we were advertising the march. You know, after the march, we're going to do a lot of, you know, outreach work in Nottingham. So the message is getting across. But like previous speakers have said, more can be done, more should be done, because over here, right, in 1807 and 1792, they did not vote to end slavery. Slavery ended in 1839 in Britain. Yeah, 1839. Don't believe in 1807. Just down the road from here, we've got the City of London. Our ancestors' blood, sweat and tears helped build the City of London. Just across here, we've got Barclays Bank. We've got HSBC Bank. We've got Bank of Liverpool. We've got Barings Bank. All those banks, yeah, were built with the blood and tears of all of us, of our ancestors, yeah? So this is why we need to be here today, right? Just over there, so, right? There's a building not far from here. When 46,000 white people in this country were paid reparations of more than £20 million in 1800s. In today's money, that is £17 billion. That was the biggest payout until the banking crisis of 2007. So that's another reason why we need to do more. We must do more, because we can't allow people to get away with the crimes to our ancestors. And the crimes are still happening today. Our young men and women in police stations being killed, like Joy Gardner, just the other day was the 25th anniversary of the murder, the cold-blooded murder of our sister Joy Gardner. 25 years ago, Stephen Lawrence was brutally murdered. To this day, his killers are still, or two of them, are still on the run in this country. That's not justice. Our young people killing one another is the reason why you and I need to be more active. I'm just going to end by saying that it's no good saying that I'm doing something. We've all got a role to play. You, I, our children, everyone's got a role to play. Because I am, because we are. Therefore I am, because we are. Give thanks.
Come on, brothers and sisters, one more time for Brother Kwame, all the way from Nottingham. Our next speaker is another speaker who is for the motion, and that is our sister Anifa, and she is also coming from afar off, from Wolverhampton. Please give it up for Sister Anifa from Wolverhampton. You don't have to press anything, just speak loudly into both of them.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm going to speak on the angle of being a representative. I've been doing the outreach work, as mentioned by Sister Jendai. She ordered that I do this in the West Midlands. Yeah. And basically what I need to say is that we can do more. I've been out there on the streets, going to black businesses, Pan-African businesses, sharing a petition with them, the flyers, inviting them to the lectures, inviting them to the workshops, inviting them to various of movements, events. These are Pan-Africans who claim that they support reparations. And brothers and sisters, I am telling you, I've been so disappointed because many of them would raise their fist saying that they're all for reparations and to sign the campaign of Stop the Mangamizi. And not one of them would step forward and join the movement to sign the petition. I've been in and out of the black businesses, their shops, where I've left petitions in the shops, and not one has been signed in 3 months. Can you believe that? Many of them claim that they've signed the petitions, but they've lost them. So we can do better than this, brothers and sisters. We need to step up our game. We need to step up and look at our ancestors, our leaders, follow their emotions of what they did. Follow Garvey, what he did. We need to reparate this and fix up ourselves and work on towards reparations. My brothers and sisters, it's been 2 years I've been on the front line, trying my best to invite brothers and sisters to the point. I have stood outside the cinemas when the Black Panther movie was out. Do you know how many brothers was ready to ridicule me? How many sisters was ready to ridicule me? So we can do better than this. We can reparate our minds and do better than this. It breaks my heart to know that our leaders died in vain and we are still on this level to the point that we can't sign a petition. We've got the petitions ready online. We got hard copies, and still we are struggling to make that mark. Brothers and sisters, I think the problem is that many black brothers and sisters, we think we are too privileged to sign these petitions. Time. And my last few words is, reparate your minds. Serious, this is serious business. We're not going nowhere. One love, power to the people.
Come on, brothers and sisters, one more time for Sister Anifa, speaking on behalf of the motion, saying that despite the fact that all of these resources have been made available, they're not being used, that many of us as Pan-Africanists, we're paying lip service to the movement, we're not actually doing what we say we have signed up to do, and that more must be done. Now, brothers and sisters, one of our speakers against the motion, Brother Callum, is missing in action, so he's not here, but we want to be fair, and so we will get somebody else to fill in that gap that has been created as a result. But before we do that, we have many international guests with us today, and one of those international guests is our sister from the Netherlands, our sister, Sister Beryl Beekman, and she needs to address us before she has to leave the country in order to return back to that part of Europe. So without further ado, I want to welcome our sister, who is a long-time reparationist, struggling the liberation movement for black people. Please put your hands together and welcome Sister Beryl Beekman. No, don't do that, brother. Let the sister speak, brother. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Yes, dear lovely family.
So you're going to really shout into them.
I have to shout.
Shout into them, sister.
Shout to them.
Into those two microphones.
Dear brothers and sisters, family.
Nice and loud, sister.
The first time that I cried when the first time when I cried when I entered a country was in Nigeria. Was in Nigeria. And you know why? because I saw so many black people. I saw only Africans. Because the country where I'm born and where I'm living, I never see so many Africans together. I cry. I cry because I knew that that was the continent of my ancestors. Before the Europeans or the Arabs came. I would say something to you. It took 2 world conferences to realize the transatlantic slave trade, slavery and colonialism, piracy, apartheid on the agenda. And that was during the 3rd World Conference. A lot of countries were refused to put the transatlantic slave trade on the agenda. And it were we Africans all over the world who gathered together to make it happen that the transatlantic slave trade should be on the agenda of the World Conference. And you know what happened? After that World Conference, there were kind of silence. The Durban Declaration and the Program of Action, we have seen what happened with that. So after a year, we had this internet after the United Nations refused to realize a review, a Durban review, to look what we have achieved after this 5-6 years. In 2009, this review was, and then they concluded that in fact the Durban Declaration was not implemented. Then we put a year for people of African descent. It's not something that the United Nations of the countries has decided. We have decided to put the year so that we can look if there is political will. And after we recognized that there was no political will, we said, okay, then we have to go longer. We have to take this 10 years. It is not the United Nations who give us the decade for people of African descent. We are the civil society, we fight for the decade. So when I hear that the government don't do anything, look here in the park, look how many Africans are here. Look how many people, look the civil society, the organizations. You will tell me that we are not can succeed to realize this decade for this reparation decade for people of African or Africans. So I cannot imagine, because in the Netherlands, what we have done in the Netherlands, we show the government that it is our decade and that we put all the things together within the perspective of the Durban Declaration to make sure that this decade will be a success. So what I would like to say to you, if it is a reparation decade, it must be possible that we realize the issues that we say in 2013 that we would like to achieve. And one thing more, this African Union leaders within the civil society of African people, they declare the African diaspora as the 6th region. And you can imagine that until today, after 2012, we don't have this African Union passport yet. Okay, let me say this, that these are the messages. These are the messages that I want to give today to you.
Go on, speak.
Keep speaking, sister, nice and loud into the mic.
So nice and loud. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand here before you. I can have a long more stories. We have to realize workshops, sessions, to look how we can bring all the things that we achieve within the United Nations, because we are the people who achieve these things like the decade. How we can combine hands together, and I know sure that it will be soon.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Please, let's put our hands together one more time for our sister, Beryl Beekman. And one of the things that she was really trying to emphasize for those of us who didn't quite get it, when you hear things like, oh, the United Nations have declared, you know, the year of recognizing Africans or the century of African recognition. This is not white people in the United Nations through some type of good heart determining that they're going to recognize Africans. It's people like her and other black people who are agitating, pushing, forcing the United Nations to make these declarations. It's us behind the thing that you hear being announced when you hear that they're recognizing African people and it's our decade. It's because we made them do it, because they don't do nothing for us without us making them do it. So that's what our sister is trying to get across to us. Now, brothers and sisters, is it yourself? Because Brother Callum went missing, we have another brother who's going to fill in just to make sure that we got 3 speakers from either side. And so without further ado, is it Brother Best? Brother Marriott is going to come in and fill in for Brother Callum. So without further ado, please put your hands together and welcome Brother Marriott speaking against the motion.
Yes, sir. Nice and loud into those mics, bro. Step forward a bit, please.
Greetings, African family.
Is that loud? Yes. Okay. Go ahead, man. Nice and big.
Although I only have 3 minutes, I would still like the permission of an elder before I speak, if I may. Okay. Do I have your permission? Give thanks. Thank you. It was not planned that I should speak with you, but there's a few things I feel you should know. First of all, I have a question. I wonder if it's not so much a question of us not doing anything or not doing enough in between marches, but really a question of us not sharing with each other what we are doing. Because oftentimes we're working towards reparations, but we don't even know it. I can take a personal example. In 2016, I retired from teaching general science in this school system slightly early because I had to leave. I couldn't continue because the call was too loud in my ear, in my heart. The call from Haiti, where I was born. And I spent all of last year, 2017, building something that, for whatever reason, I'm compelled to call the Jean-Jacques Dessalines Imperial Institute.
That's a good name, brother.
And I feel compelled to form here something called the Jean-Jacques Dessalines Imperial Foundation to help keep us aware and to help to give us an avenue to support the Institute in Haiti. And I have to do it in Haiti. It has to start there because our children are being killed through this thing called education. Our country is being killed. We are being taught in the language of the enemy we defeated back in 1803. And we are being taught using a curriculum that teaches nothing about Haiti, but everything about everybody else. So if you get through the educational miseducation system in Haiti, you are well prepared. You are well prepared to serve Europe.
And a highway. Keep going, brother. Keep
so,
going.
Yeah.
And the atrocity that's been done. Don't be
distracted. So, if you want to know more about this institute, on the 18th of August, 18th of Mosiah, there will be something that's called the Haiti Revolution Memorial Lecture that happens every year. And then you will learn more about the Institute on that day.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
That place over there,
give thanks.
Blood, sweat, and tears of our people. Glad you're right.
One more time, brothers and sisters, could we put our hands together for Brother Marriott, please? Thank you. Okay, so brothers and sisters, you have had 3 arguments for and 3 arguments against the motion, and I would like to remind you.
And enough is enough. Let me say something.
Okay, so now, brothers and sisters, I just want to remind you. I just want to remind you what the motion is, and then after I remind you what the motion is, then what we want to do after that is have one speaker from either side come back to sum up their arguments, and then after that you will have your opportunity to vote. And so the motion says, be resolved that the Reparations March as a form of reparatory justice, street protest is being made inadequate due to inactivity by the majority of its participants in taking steps to advance the campaign for reparations between the annual marches. In a nutshell, the motion is saying that not enough is being done in preparation towards the march or in following up after the march, and we've had speakers arguing on behalf of that motion and speakers arguing against that motion. And so at this time, we want to call back Sister Jendai, who will sum up the argument for the motion, and then after Sister Jendai, we will bring another speaker from the other side to argue and sum up against the motion. Brothers and sisters, do not be distracted. We are far too easily distracted as a people. We need to maintain our focus. Please welcome back our sister Jendai.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. We have split the crowd. There's a time and a place to give thanks and praise and drum. We're here to have a parliamentary session, but we are a divided people with some drumming over there distracting us from having a dialogue about what we should do. And that is rude. That's just not on, and it needs to stop. Every year is the same thing. Okay, I just want to thank the opposing team, Komowishua, Brother Mario, and Sister Toya, because they have put the argument right into our hands. Because you can't have somebody like Brother Kwame on the opposing team saying we need to do more. That's my argument. Exactly. That's my argument. So on that point, you lose. Sister Toya is talking about the international work. 90% of the people that are involved in that are not here. They're not doing it. So stop trying to take credit for what you never do. Mario is in a position to speak what he's doing because he's leading his campaign. So I will give him that. But how many of us are providing active support for the Haiti reparations? And that's the issue. Let me just say, this march one day cost £6,000. The day before the march, we could only raise 600 on GoFundMe. And everybody's so pumping their fists. They're so serious. Make making no investment physically or financially. If the naysayers and the criticizers were proposing alternative strategies and tactics beyond those already in place, because brothers and sisters, apart from the Stop the Mangamissi campaign, apart from the Global African Congress, no one else is working to challenge white power as an organization. ALD is not changing our situation. Kwanzaa is not challenging. The state doesn't fear our Saturday schools. They don't fear our African markets because they pose no threat to end the Mangamissi. So don't kid yourself that economics alone is the answer, or education alone is the answer, and African family events alone is the answer. Because if you're going to bring down a system, you need to face it face to face, and you need to build your argument, your strategy, and your tactics, and we're not doing that. End.
Okay, brothers and sisters, that was the pro-argument summing up by Sister Jendai. Now we want to invite back Sister Toya to sum up the against side. So without further ado, let's welcome back Sister Toya. I hope she hasn't run. I hope she hasn't run.
The whole of them run. They don't have no case. They run where?
Where is she? Well, Sister Toya doesn't appear to be here, so Brother Kwame is here. Maybe he might want to sum up for the side opposing the motion. But that was a very strong summing up by Sister Jendai. I think her argument is very sound. Even though I'm charged with just being a moderator, I've got to say, brothers and sisters, that was a very strong argument, and we need to really appreciate that there is so much more that we have to do as a people if we're going to make any kind of change to our reality in this country. And it ain't going to be no talk, it's going to have to be some real action. And so, here is Sister Toya, who is now going to sum up. Sister Toya, some of your argument was deemed to be in support of the full motion. And so you got your work cut out now in 3 minutes to sum up your argument. Please put your hands together for Sister Toya.
Both of them. Nice and big. Just step forward, nice and big.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate my points again, very briefly, just to say that we are active in making sure that the march is alive and well.
Keep them right next to your mouth, it's really speaking to them.
And it's very necessary, and it's important that the participants need to also look at themselves and ask if they're doing enough as well, because it can't be on the shoulders of everybody else to do. So if you don't think that the march, or you don't feel that the march is moving forward, just look at yourselves, and that's it. Anyway, guys, if you want to keep up to date with the march and all the programs and educational programs that we have, just check themarch.org and stopthemangamissi.com. all right? Reparationsmarch.org and social media platforms on Instagram. It's all there. Some of us have Facebook. Just type in the March UK. You'll be updated on there.
Where's the
one more time, brothers and sisters, for Sister Toya. Time to vote. All those who believe that Sister Jendai's argument and her team were the winners? Could I please see a show of hands? All those who believe that Sister Jendai's argument and her team were the winners, could I see a show of hands? Okay, all those, thank you. All those who believe that Sister Toya and her team were the winners, please could I see a show of hands? 2 hands, 1 hand. First of all, I should start with 2 hands and it got up to 1 hand. I declare the winner of the argument is those in favor of the motion, Sister Jendai and her team. Please, could we make some noise for Sister Jendai and her team, please?
It's with great sadness that my team won. You need to tell them.
Sister Jendai wanted to remind all of us that it is in fact with great sadness that her team wins, because her team winning is a tremendous indictment on our condition as a people. And I've got to say, brothers and sisters, first of all, I want to thank all of you who are here. I want to thank all of you who are standing in this spot and have taken place in the Popsar, who have taken part in this open parliamentary discussion about our issues when it comes to reparations. I really, really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the reparations movement. We have 4 speakers who are going to come forward and address us. But just before we do that, I want to reiterate what has been said about the division of having our people over there playing drums, playing music, and dividing our movement, dividing our crowd. This is very, very wrong. And this is the problem in the black community. We are not a people who will respect organization, respect and have discipline for ourselves, and this will always amount to our defeat and our downfall in anything that we attempt to do. As long as we have indisciplined people and people who don't give a damn about the program set forward by those of us who work hard to put together a program in the first place. So brothers and sisters, despite all of that, we are not about to give up on the process of our liberation struggle. Next year, today, the 1st of August, we're going to be back here. And we want in the future that this square will not be big enough to contain the Africans who will come here. We intend to build infrastructure for black people in the United Kingdom. We have no intention of going backwards. Brothers and sisters, please. Brothers and sisters, our first guest speaker to address us is our sister, Sister Kambanda from the Overhero Genocide Foundation. Our sisters coming all the way from the continent of Africa to be with us today. Please put your hands together and welcome our sister Kambanda.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Who are we? Who are we?
Africa.
What do we want?
Reparation.
What do we want?
Reparation.
Thank you. Greetings, greetings all the way from Namibia. Greetings, brothers and sisters. I am here today representing the Obaherero and Nama people who were genocided by Germany in 1904 to 1908. The first genocide of the 21st century was committed against our people in Namibia by the Germans. Hundreds and thousands were killed. Today, Germany denied the genocide. They said it was atrocities. But we are forging forth, we are fighting. And that's why we are here today to join hands with you, because even though we are all coming from different parts of the world, fighting our own wars in different ways, When we come together and hold hands, our voice will be heard. Aluta! Aluta! Today I would like to thank the organizers of this event. It's our second year to come here. We would like to thank you for making us, letting us, English is gone now. Yeah, for allowing us to let our voice be heard by millions and millions of people. We are very, very grateful for that. The Ovairero Nama people are very brave people, or the descendants of those are very brave people. Last year, we took the Germans to court in the New York, in the USA. The naysayers were saying it is impossible. A small group of people cannot take mighty Germany to court in New York for that matter. But we did it. They refused the 2 first hearings, but the 3rd one, they were forced to attend, and to us that was victory. Yeah. My brothers and sisters are right now in New York. Yesterday there was a court hearing. And another thing for hope is that the case was not dismissed. Judgment was postponed. So we are still hopeful that one day we will overcome. Viva to the people of Namibia, viva! Viva! Thank you very much, thank you very much. Aluta! 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 Who are we? Who are we? What do we want? What do we want? Reparation or death. Thank you very much.
Remember I told you by him, I heard you go. I told you when I better come to the park city.
Brothers and sisters, next speaker to speak is the Honorable Priest Yakub from the International Baba Shanti Organization. Come forward, my brother. Yes, sir. Please put your hands together, make some noise, and welcome our brothers. Yes, sir.
Holy Manuelai, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, Freedom, Redemption, International Repatriation. This moment I can just read the open letter to the Prime Minister for the detailing the history of Baba Shanti and our father and the works that he has done towards repatriation, his compensation. We give thanks for this, our Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress Church, our salvation. I and I, the people who stand above our organization. We stand governmental, parliamental, statical and churchical, also sabbatical, with our worthy leader, president, founder, God and King, Right Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edward, the Lord's servant, Holy Emmanuelai, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. We would like to read this open letter that was sent out to the Prime Minister of Jamaica. The contents of this open letter of what we are demanding and agitating for goes out to all heads of government, including the Prime Minister of England and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who can and should assist in bringing forth this international right. The conquering lion shall break every chain. Ethiopian Royal Nation Wealth Kingdom. Ethiopia Poor People National and International Freedom League Government. Melchizedek Righteous Kingdom. Black Supremacy Government for the poor and have-not. United Black Wealth Sovereign Nation.
Louder into it, brother. Louder into it.
Point this into the people.
Louder into it. Louder into it.
I can't sound no louder. Lord of hosts, the I am. Repatriation internationally. The fifth kingdom of justice stand for equality and justice for all people. Ethiopia Black International Congress Church of Salvation. The Sabbath to be kept holy. Freedom, Redemption International Repatriation. The Poor People Government, internationally true human rights. Black Congress, King of Salem. The people above all kingdoms stand governmental, parliamental, statical, churchical, and sabbatical. Formerly at 54 B Spanish Town Road, now headquartered at 10 Mile Bull Bay, PO St. Andrew, Jamaica. Victory of good over evil. Open letter for international repatriation with reparations now. Open letter to the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the Jamaican government on behalf of the black world of people, Ethiopia, Africa, royal sons and daughters. The Most Right Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edward, founder leader of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, EABIC Church of Salvation. Has established and accomplished a framework to bring forth freedom, redemption, international repatriation with compensation. True human rights and human justice, Article 1 to 30 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The EABIC has submitted letters and documents to the United Nations International Court of Justice in Hague, Netherlands, the Organization of African Unity, or AU, now the African Union, the Arab League, and all nations that benefit from slavery and the slave trade, along with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. All are responsible to grant we the people this right. Glorify the words of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Andrew Holness, on the post of his Facebook page. The words of the Honorable Prophet Marcus Messiah Garvey. Up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Holy Emmanuel I. Jah Rastafari. Honorable Prime Minister Holness, your call for pardoning of Marcus Garvey in Florida, USA was a noble act. Though we fundamentally disagree, as you shall not ask for a pardon but exoneration, as the Honorable Prophet was framed, he was innocent of the charges brought against him. Honorable Prime Minister Holness, in your National Heroes Day message, you said, Sam Sharp fought for slavery not because of personal oppression, but on principle and in selfless devotion to others. Our national hero, Sam Sharp, was selfless in his devotion to the Jamaican people on a national level. The way in which he fought against slavery, not driven by personal oppression, and his conviction to civil liberty. The Right Honorable Marcus Garvey, our international hero, was also selfless in his fight for his people internationally as a black liberator, restorer of pride, dignity, and love for our race, with a conviction to returning and restoring our continent of black Ethiopia, Africa, to its former glory. Honorable Sir, as you stated in your message, our national heroes would want us to carry on their work. Let us not disappoint them. Africa, for the Africans, those at home and us abroad, was a cry of the Honorable Prophet Marcus Messiah Garvey, our great national and international hero. It has been the mission of the EABIC Church of Salvation, under the leadership and guidance of the Most Right Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. It was then and it is now. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, several delegations were sent to the continent of Africa by the Right Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards to secure the people's right to return to Africa. A seven-member delegation to Ghana, West Africa, met with the then Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Dr. Eban Chambers, on the subject of international repatriation. Dr. Chambers told us, in order for repatriation to be done, it has to be done on a government-to-government level, and it can also be done on a people-to-people level. International protocol dictates this process. Due to the fact that this is a universal international call for the right of all black sons and daughters, four corners of the earth, we are agitating for
for this right on a government-to-government level. We will continue to work towards the fulfillment of the cry of the Honorable Marcus Garvey through fundamental freedom, redemption, and international repatriation with compensation through human rights and human justice. Pull it. We have documented evidence for the United Nations through the International Court of Justice, the OAU, AU, and all heads of government, along with the United Nations Resolution 728. It's only 4 pages. It's done after this. Of the Economic and Social Council. That point to you, Honorable Prime Minister, and the Jamaican government, as they want to fulfill this divine cause. The head of state of Jamaica, Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, has directed us to you, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, to initiate this cause. Also, we are calling on you to lobby for this right of freedom, redemption, international repatriation on the floor of the United Nations on behalf of the people, as the official government representative of the people. This lobbying is to be presented to the relevant authorities responsible for legal repatriation, calling for the fulfillment of the Universal Negro Improvement Association Black Bill of Rights, specifically Articles 13, 14, and 15, put forth by the Honorable Prophet Marcus Messiah Garvey on the 1st of August to the 30th in Harlem, New York, 1920. This won't finish, my lord. Spirited document of right also presented by the EABIC and was received by Honorable Secretary General of the AAU, Salam Ahmed Salim, on November 8, 1993, namely International Repatriation and Reparation Petition to the OAU, now AU, and a 4-point agenda document. All member states agree to fulfill this cause. We are looking forward to the Honorable Prime Minister to set a date to receive a delegation of the EABIC Church of Salvation to reason on this matter. This right is for black people. This right is for the black world of people. The police, soldiers, teachers, doctors, nurses, farmers, masons, carpenters, office workers, judges, lawyers, people of the madhouse, the man on the sidewalk, the hand-cart man, the rich and the poor, the have and the have-not, and those who have no helper from all walks of life. We are calling on you, Mr. Prime Minister, to not only reiterate the words of a national hero you have mentioned, but also the unsung heroes you have not mentioned, like the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Aylward. King Emmanuel has come and stand, and still standing in we the people of the EABIC Church of Salvation, to fulfill the right of the above mentioned people, through the words and works of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Africa for the Africans, those at home and us abroad. Through the words of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie on his visit to Jamaica in 1966. The people in Ethiopia, Africa, and the people in Jamaica and the diaspora are blood brothers and sisters. This must be done through international human rights law, Articles 1, 3, 13, and 15 of the UDHR. It's finishing, my lord. Why you want to rush, man? Of which the government of Jamaica is a signatory, along with all member states of the United Nations. May the Almighty God strengthen you to fulfill the right of freedom, redemption, we leave you with 7 words of love. God is love, let us all love. Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Bless and sanctify my lords and empress, prince and princesses and little one, those who are here and here to come.
Come on, brothers and sisters, let's give it up one more time for our brothers. Without further ado, because we're running behind time, please could you welcome to the platform our sister Cleo Lake, who is a councillor and the Lord Mayor of Bristol. Please give it up for her.
Mind locked. It was her. It was him.
it was them, it was there, it was that. Anything but now, anything but this. Mind locked out of a view on a horizon that might calm the voice, saying other, saying anywhere, saying anything is better than here. Mind locked out of realization of the value held in a palm of truth, scorched lifelines read only by the breeze of the coastline, too violent to bathe in. The ocean, these roads, this place, this no one's land, mind locked. A life taken in ego and error. The sins of expectant assimilation run amok on the righteous. Tempting and taking, selling back just a clone, untrodden testimony. Take heed at those borders, have those carvings reviewed. Seek, steal, break, take, wealth, in us and out. All that we need, wherever we are, by residing in hope, we see it not now. Chosen our blindness, we stay in a cell, condemned, contained, contaminated with limitations, a box, mind locked. Good afternoon, everyone. I am the last speaker, so we'll be moving on very shortly. Thank you for your patience. My name is Cleo Lake, and I'm a creative woman from Bristol. In my spare time, I'm also a Green Party councillor, and I would like to plug our brother Rashid Nix from Brixton, who is standing as deputy leader for the Green Party. So any members out there of the Green Party, vote for him.
Will the Green Party stop the man?
I will follow some protocol. I am the Lord Mayor of Bristol, but I've been told by the monitoring officer that I must make it clear today that I have a day off from being Lord Mayor, and I stand here in my own capacity. Yes. However, as Lord Mayor, and I was sworn in on the 22nd of May this year, I am the first woman of African heritage to hold the post and the 11th only woman in an 801-year legacy. One of the things I have done is to remove the portrait of an enslaver from the parlour wall. A portrait dating from the 1700s and hanging in City Hall for over 50 years. Critics have deemed this an outrageous stunt. I call it reparations. And I tell critics, as I have told the monitoring officer, I am not Lord Mayor of 1618, or 1718, or 1818, or 1918, no! I am Lord Mayor of Bristol in 2018. And as first citizen of that ancient city, I cannot, mustn't, and will not uphold that status quo. My mantra for the year is that which hasn't happened yet, but must. Today is as much about talking to each other as it is about talking to the government, declaring our right to be seen, heard and repaired. Some seek to mock, they ask, why march? Well, let's reframe it and see it for what it is. And I rather see this as a huge link-up with a kind of sponsored walk in between, an opportunity to exercise together. This link-up is the third thing we can call our own and come out in numbers for. The other two things being funerals and carnival. And why wouldn't I want to be here today? Why would anyone want to miss this? There is no greater energy than collective energy. Yep. Recently I was fortunate enough to meet Mr. Brian Stevenson, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative in Alabama. He has worked with dozens of people on death row and particularly focuses on young people. He has saved dozens of prisoners from the death penalty and has advocated for poor people and developed community-based reform litigation. He initiated the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Alabama, which honors the names of each of over 4,000 African Americans lynched in the 12 states of the South from 1877 to 1950. He argues that the history of slavery and lynchings has influenced the subsequent high rate of death sentences in the South, where it has been disproportionately applied to minorities. Mr. Brian Stevenson was awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Bristol just 2 weeks ago, and in his speech he said that the opposite to poverty is not wealth, the opposite to poverty is injustice. Consider that for a second. The opposite of poverty is injustice, and so for us to prosper, justice is a must. Today is about talking to each other as much as it is addressing the powers that be. And maybe we need to review who we are talking to and lobbying. Today is as much about talking to each other as it is talking to the Maangamizi perpetrators, those that kettle our culture and shackle our bodies, detain and deport us, miseducate us and medicate us. Those that did not seek to celebrate our contribution for 70 years, but rather would prefer to kick us in the teeth. And those ruling classes who not only were compensated for our misfortune, but we discover that we've actually paid for that out of our own tax money, and we've been paying back taxes to our enslavers until 2015. We need a tax revolt. We need repair. Repair from continual Afrophobia, repair from intergenerational trauma, repair from the breakdown of the family unit, repair from preventable diseases, repair from violence, repair from ecocide, repair from self-hate, repair from despair. It's been an honour to have this platform to address you today, and it is much about talking to myself as it is talking to all of you. So let's continue the talk and the walk, and may our words produce collective actions.
Come on, brothers and sisters, one more time for our councillor and Lord Mayor, Cleo Lake. Okay, an announcement for Brother Amunwa and his queen. If you could make your way over here, please, to this plinth. Brother Amunwa and his queen. Also to those brothers and sisters who travelled from Bristol, just to let you know that your coaches are over to my left. Over to my left are the coaches for Bristol.
But we are marching back.
But we are marching back to Windrush Square. When we get back to Windrush Square, we will make the announcement as to the petition and the numbers that have been gathered this year. And brothers and sisters, we are asking you to stay together. Let us go back to Windrush Square together. Let us stay as one black family, one African family. Let us march back in triumph. Let us make as much noise en route and create a traffic problem for the powers that be, because it's very, very important that black people do not remain invisible in the United Kingdom, but we let them know that we are here and we are here to stay. And so, brothers and sisters, as we close this portion of our day, we would like to remind you that our meeting point for marching back to Brixton, back to Windrush Square, will be the very point at which we entered this Parliament Square, right there in front of Big Ben. If we can begin to gather in that area, we will then go back into the road and begin our march back to Windrush Square, where we will have speeches and other edutainment taking place as we go a little bit more into the evening. Let us make it a successful day. Let's stay together and let us continue the process of our reparations. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your participation in the POPSA. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your participation in the march. Keep up the work, keep up the march, keep up the process. We will be liberated, we will be free, we will have victory, our children will sit in the seat of power. Thank you, and may the Creator bless you as I greet you. Assalamu alaikum.
New generation. Each one. Each one. I said each one. Each one. Touch one. Touch all. Touch one. Touch all. Guided. The new generation. Guided. The new generation. Guided. Guiding the new generation. Guided. The new generation. I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you've been told. Gang is taking back these roads. Gang is taking back these roads. I don't know what them man heard. I don't know what them man heard. Gang is taking back our turf. Gang is taking back our turf. Guided. A new generation. Guided. Guiding a new generation. Guided. Guiding a new generation. Guided. Guiding a new generation. Gang unite. Gang unite. Cops of the Oaks. Cops of the Oaks. I said gang unite. Gang unite. Cops of the Oaks. Cops of the Oaks. I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you've been told. Gang is taking back these roads. Gang is taking back these roads. I don't know what them man heard. I don't know what them man heard. Gang is taking back our turf. Gang is taking back our turf. Guided. Guiding a new generation. 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 Each one. Each one. I say each one. Each one. And if you touch one, you touch all. If you touch one, you touch all. How we're guided. Guiding a new generation. Guided. Guiding a new generation. We're guided. Guiding a new generation. We're guided. Guiding a new generation. So gang unite. Gang unite. Cops of the Oaks. Cops of the Oaks. Gang unite. Gang unite. Cops of the Oaks. Cops of the Oaks. I don't know what you've been told. I don't know what you've been told. Gang is taking back these roads. Gang is taking back these roads. And I don't know what them man heard. I don't know what them man heard. Gang is taking back our turf. Gang is taking back our turf. How we're guided. The new generation. Guided.
No. I'll go and anchor that. I'll go and respect the lesson.
New mommy, new mommy, new mommy. Bring in the energy. All right. All right. I think we're ready to go. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it moving. All right. All right. We have coming to the stage, keeping the energy live. Goes by the name of Todd's. Gonna be working right now. Please rise him up, please, family.
Yes, family. Yes, family. More energy, more energy, more energy. Yeah. So hear what? Yeah? Because it's beautiful out here. I'm going to give the fire. I guarantee you lot that. But I need you lot to charge me up as well. Yeah? That good to go, yeah? All right, yeah. I'm cool. Go on, bust a beat, big man. Yeah. Yo, this one's off the black box, so if you so happen to know the words, yeah, do your thing. All right. Yeah. Get me, large up the gang. Yeah. Oi. Yo. I've got purpose, dog, I'm on a mission. And you can't roll if you don't see the vision. Cause I ain't trying to be nobody's hero. I scream bond the law, dog, and free the villains. There's hella violence, so there's hella sirens. Poverty turned good youth into tyrants. So there's hella jukings and there's hella drillings. Yeah, it's hella sticky round them council buildings. Young boys eyeing up your rose gold before they snatch that. They gon' ask you, what's your postcode? There's a river of tears running through these bits. Cried by mums that lost sons over stupidness. Young boys in the manor getting stupid rich. And there's young boys in the manor that be shooting shit. Warriors and hustlers, we need these talents. It's not just peace, brother, we need balance. They serve kitties by the corner, they serve kitties on the stairs. They serve kitties in the alley, they'll serve them anywhere. The man that gotta eat, they out there on their feet. Survival is a must, and liberty ain't cheap, and I know violations ain't easily let go. But try and live righteous, cause you reap what you sow. The food comes, then it goes. Cause these kitties ring phones and we 10 toes the roads with our eyes wide for an op. Yo, don't let them know you're low. Keep your chin up when you bop. Don't claim to be something that you're not. Cause we're guided by truth and every liar gets clocked off. Dodged death more times than I've lived, but no regrets, dog, it is what it is. Cause we went where we went and we did what we did. Be a hush, shush, shush, cause we don't give info to the pigs. Yeah, I'm still wicked with the wordplay. And every day I celebrate life and still turn up on my birthday. You see, round here I'm 30, loyal to the soil, man's earthy. My body is my temple, I don't need no church day. I burn ganja and I burn sage, and that's how I hold my meds. And then I transcend the physical, that's word to my dreads. In a wizard probably scared from them feds. With my middle finger out the wind dizzy. Yo, I got brothers, not friends. Shout Grizz, Swizz and Jim Busy. Shout my bros trying to free us from them mental chains. And shout my bros that do dirt and then say no names. Shout my queens that love God, rave and love twerk. Still get up in the morning and find themselves at work. Shout my bros that know all the freedom fighters' names. And shout my bros that just love to wear chains. Shout my queens that can cook a good food, kick knowledge, and she got a mad brain. Gang shit only. Gang shit only. Gang shit only. Gang shit only. Love come leave me, truth come leave me, let it easy come go. Gang shit only. Gang shit only.
Come on, man. Yeah. Gang go, man.
Yo, now I need more energy, you know. Yeah, for my second beat sound, man, I need more energy. Yeah. You can plug me in when you're ready, still. Yeah. But can you turn it up a touch, please? Yeah. I need more energy, family, yeah? Alright. Yo. Boom. Anytime I rhyme, it's a madness. Like pass me that microphone, I guarantee bangers. Firstly, let me large up the queens, cause there's too many fathers, no morals, no manners. Still I love a gal that loves his skin out, but don't be sat to the table cause you sat down. Yo, I will plug me back in. Plug me back in.
From top.
Yeah. Give time. Alright. Yeah. Large up the gang again. Yeah. Gang. Alright.
There is nothing you can say to me that's going to make me change my mind. I just want to tell you, okay? It's a no.
Anytime I rhyme, it's a madness. Like pass me that microphone, I guarantee bangers. Firstly, let me large up the queens, cause there's too many fathers, no morals, no manners. Still I love a gal that loves his skin out, but don't think you put something to the table cause you sat down with your bits out. Still honestly I rate you cause there's man them in the ends that move more feminine than they do. But get it right, let's get it right. I love the black woman like I love life, because she is life, she got in the physical. Everything about her is a miracle. But hold on, let me tell them I got thousands out the spot. Wait, actually, hold on, let me holler at the gang. The ones that got problems and let them know cops are the yachts. Let me tell them how I used to get it so thin. Whip it till it rocks way. Actually, hold on, let me teach them about chemic and push while I'm blowing on push. But they know that I brother smoke a lot. Trap life burn holes in my book, but I stayed in my book. But I really am trying to know a lot. jugging and finessing all night in the manner eyes wide. So we out here trying to get what? Up with my head held high like, why would I not? I'm proud of everything that I've got. I'm proud of everything I'm gon' get like. I know it's just timing, brother, no sweat, no sweat. Shout my brothers that deep poke chest and shout my brothers that boom bang sweat. Yo, but for the youth, this shit's gotta stop. Yeah, that's me, I'm signing out there, family. Good time.
Problem you, you're a problem, my brother. Come on, problem on road, man. You are a problem. That's the gang shit.
Alright, family. You good? You sure? Alright. We've got so many artists to get through, so we're gonna keep it rolling now. Please, rise them up. Make him feel welcome. He goes by the name of Respect. Fire Bingy! Yeah. We gotta keep it snappy because of time. And I was chanting so much on the mic, I lost my voice. So forgive me, family, yeah? But guided! Part one! I don't know what you've been told. Gang is taking back these roads. Meet no. And Respect instrumentals. Let's go, let's get straight into it. This one's called the G Code. Yeah? Big up my brother Todd. Yeah, they're bringing back the G Code, family. The video will be dropping soon on Respect official YouTube and Instagram. All of the OGs out there. Yeah. Listen. Cause every day in school I was in a fight. And I never got that cool and I didn't ride. I was senses, didn't die, lying if I said that I didn't want to kill a guy. See, I'm gangster but civilized. Martin Luther with a shooter for my civil rights. He double showed me that we're coming from a different time where you only ever got the ratings if you hit the guy. Not his friends or some friends of his friends or some guys that was chilling on the NC. We don't touch civilians. I'm from a time where we protected innocence. But if I get hit, don't snitch, cause I find my own brother if he's running to the creeks. Can't have the people relying on police, bro. Tell my drillers that we're bringing back the G Code. That we don't hit them if we know that they ain't involved. And watch when you're spitting on these intros. Are you a driller or a snitch, bro? Cause every time you spit, it's like you're giving piggies info. We're all trying to dodge these plain clothes. So we gotta be following the same code. Schools, churches, mosques, mum's house. All of these here have to be safe zones. I ain't an angel with a halo. My black cops will take off your top car, I say so. And those still got the grip. Or I rate the fact that he don't chase beef, he just makes dough. But if I get hit, don't snitch. And if we get shit, hold the lips, cause I'm coming for the gutter. So word to my mother, I will ban my own brother if he's running to the pigs like. If I get hit, don't snitch, cause I'll ban my own brother if he's running to the pigs. Can't have the people relying on police, bro. Tell my drillers that we're bringing back the G Code. And if I get hit, don't snitch, cause I'll ban my own brother if he's running to the pigs. This might sound weird, but I'm gonna carry on. Listen. Can I get some of the echo taken back? Look. I'm like, you don't even know G. What I'd give to see my brother said I've no beat. Like the riot stand together as a whole team. We've only got one enemy and that's the police. Came first and the racists took our trophies. Look at their jewelers and you'll see where I'll go be. I ain't stupid, I ain't looting, I ain't saucy. It's reparations, I'm just taking what they owe me. And they don't want to see us associates. I've been sitting in the prison cause you grow trees. But you thinking you're a villain cause you smoke weed? There's politicians that be slipping through their nosebleeds. That's why it's no justice, no peace. I ride for my homies, die for my coldies. Gang, I ain't lonely. You know me, I live my life for every OG. Cause all for my brother, them are riders. All for my brother, them are grinders. Couple IPPs, couple lifers. So if I run the leg, it's just how my life is. Cause half of my brother, they were robbers. The other half of my brother, they were sharters. A couple real OGs, couple bosses. One thing in common, fam, we don't like corporate. Let's go next shit. Drill. Yo, the youth are making something called drill right now. Yeah, and everyone's saying drill's the issue, but the music ain't never the issue. What happens is the mentality of the person spitting. So I want you lot to, 1 minute, close it. Let's just get this right. When I say rust, I want you lot to say, when I say run, devil man run, you say run, devil man run. Cause I see some police boys walking around us. Yeah, I'm gonna like all them too. So when I say run, devil man run, you say run, devil man run. Run, devil man, run, devil man, run! Firebomb! Alright, and then the other one is Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey, Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey, Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't. Alright, let's go. Run with it. Drill, let's go. Let's keep it snappy because we're short for time. Yeah. Let's go. You have to charge up the fire key for the fire unit. For the long club. Yeah. Keep this to my chest cross like Malcolm X forever Wakanda. Sisters like Winnie Mandela, 50 years in the team in the man law. Hey. Don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey. Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey. Rush don't run out. Hey. Rush don't run out. Rush don't run out. Hey. Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey. Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey. Rush don't run out of fire. Rush don't run out of fire. Hey. Rush don't. No. Who is the fire for the Who is the fire for the fire? Run over, show me through me. You to be a station and I say fire. When I say there's nothing you like it, you need to my brothers to die cause the words are laughing. My brothers are sitting on laughing. Hey, all my riders, grinders. Who's the people that try to be righteous? Hey, too many police and sirens, right? All of my people survivors. Hey, we came from the slums. No, we had no bomb. We shot to one of my slums. Hey, Chinese will put out the guns and then they come from over the sun. That's what everything I will get one line. Run them, run. Don't let us stop fighting and look at the evil done. Look at the beautiful powers, look how people fought. There's a spiritual powers, there's a legal board. Send out spiritual fire, that's everyone's gonna learn. Hey, when you go back like that, when you go down. When you go back, they die, they come back. Now they keep it sunlight, when they do it, son. When they got 2 for 1, get that out of the sun. Hey, government reasons. We were vision for that man here ain't equal. When a man gets up in circles, see that he's illegal. If you say stay around here, then scare your being a sequel. If you don't realize the man, you know that we're real or real. I've got a rush in time, I swear that it's not good peaceful. But someone told these guys that they're fucking out people. Not too much to be inside and keep that wicked and evil. Rolling the race, what you gonna say? Some wondering why? Why you go with a watch man really got them so pretty and nice? Where's the people of spice? They wanna teach you for life. But I lose my brother, I lose my time, I lose my body. Hey, rolling the race, what you gonna say? Some wondering why? Why you go with a watch man really got them so pretty and nice? Where's the people of spice? They wanna teach you for life. But I lose my brother, I lose my time, I lose my body. Hey. It's time to the next shoot because time. It's time to show people. Time always the best stuff. Yeah. Let's give the people their tune and let's go. We got Shakara, congratulations. And there was a 10-man rally. See the next one in the army. You get me?
As we give thanks unto the Creator, we also give thanks for the creation we have been blessed to share with each other. Anyone who seeks to destroy his creation, that's how you do it, we'll help, so that the devil, we'll put that into the devil. Yes, sir. My belief if you want to. Right again. Touch one. Fire. Babylon fire. Police wire fire. Pagan fire. Hey, fire. Babylon fire. Police wire fire. Pagan fire. Hey, fire. Love people.
Respect fire bingy. Give it thanks. You know, we're here on a reparations mission. But I have to say, brothers and sisters, sometimes our behavior does not reflect our willingness to repair.
Come take over everything from your belly.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen! COE! Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. I just listen to COE! Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky YG. Man, just listen to COE! Man, just listen to COE! Man, just listen to COE! If you see me in COE! Cut it over everything. COE!
Man, not even know BBC. Man, not even know ITV. Not even listen to the MUM. They just listen to COE. Sorry, mommy, I'm lying. Mom, listen to your mom.